When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hello, and welcome to Fintech Insider Insights. I'm your host, Kate Moody. Today, we're exploring a major shift in the way SMBs run their banking, the move from simple digital channels to intelligent advisory. Now, let's take it back to basics and quickly define SMBs. Small and medium businesses, or SMBs as we often call them, are typically defined by their size. They have a limited number of employees and generate lower annual revenue compared to large corporations, so the exact numbers can vary depending on the country and industry. These businesses often operate on a local or regional level and usually have simpler organisational structures, making them more flexible and adaptable. Despite their smaller scale, SMBs play a crucial role in the economy all around the world, driving innovation, creating jobs and contributing significantly to economic growth. So, what's going on? For years, banks competed on apps, dashboards and online portals. But that arms race is over. Slick apps are now table stakes. Everyone has them. SMBs don't just want to see their balances. They want guidance. They want insight. They want a digital CFO, a system that not only shows them where they are financially, but also tells them which route will save them time and money. Think of it like having a GPS for your business finances. The app isn't just showing where you are, it's telling you which route will save you time and, crucially, money. How accurate would you trust that GPS to be? In this episode, we'll first explore why digital-first banking is no longer enough, and then in part 2, we'll discuss how embedded finance is helping SMBs navigate their financial journey smarter and faster. Let's dive in, shall we? Firstly, we have someone who is very familiar with Pleo and the work that they're doing in the embedded finance space. Kunal Galav, VP of Pleo Embedded. Welcome, Kunal. Could you tell us a bit more about your role at Pleo, please?
Yeah, thank you, Kate, and thank you for having us. I'm Kunal. I'm responsible for Pleo's embedded finance business. At Pleo, we have been serving SMBs for about 10 years now. We serve 40,000 customers across 16 European countries. And our mission is to make European businesses or SMBs thrive. Where we want to even further our mission is to bring our spend management capabilities to where SMBs operate. So be it banks, be it payment service providers, be it accounting providers and HR providers. So we want to bring our offering, working with our partners to European SMBs, and that's where Pleo Embedded comes in.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Really excited to hear your perspective as we go through today. Joining Kunal, we have an exciting Fintech Insider debut for Simon Gilson-Fox, SVP of Small and Medium Enterprises at Mastercard for Europe. Massive welcome to the show, Simon. Would you mind telling us a bit more about your role at Mastercard, please?
Thank you, Kate. Yeah. So in essence, I look after the products, the solutions, and the customers that take our products and solutions that cover all the small and medium businesses in Europe. So anyone that has a Mastercard for their small business sits under my responsibility to make sure they have the right product at the right time and we evolve with them through their business journey.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, absolutely excited to get your perspective as well as we run through this. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us. So we have our panel. Let's dive in. In this part of the podcast, we're going to start by asking, why now? Why are SMBs suddenly expecting more from their banks? For years, a clean app and the ability to make payments felt like the baseline, not necessarily because SMBs thought it was enough, but because it was often all their banks could provide. But that is changing. New technologies, smarter tools, and more data-driven services are raising expectations, showing SMBs that banking can do more than just record transactions. It can actively help them plan and grow. That shift brings us to the way SMBs want to think about banking services, like a GPS. If your banking app only shows the route you've already travelled. It's informative, but it's not particularly helpful. What SMBs really need is guidance that looks ahead, a system that says if you take this route, you will avoid cash flow issues next month, for example. Okay, Kunal, maybe I'll come to you first. Why do you think this change has happened? Why are SMBs suddenly expecting more from their banks? Or is it as sudden as we've described?
It's not sudden. It's been going on for a while, Kate. The parallel I would draw is consumer banking. Because if I go back to the definition you started in the podcast, small and medium businesses, they are ultimately using all the consumer tools out there. So in my day-to-day life, I've got a slick banking app. I've got the best email system. Everything is easy for me. And when I just switch gears and 8 o'clock in the morning, I start running my business, I need to download something from a laptop. I can't do it on my mobile phone. I then need to sit down, call my accountant. I then need to figure out everything together by reconciling them in an Excel spreadsheet. And by the time I figure it out, my business day is over. So if I really want to succeed and really want to thrive in today's world, I need insight on my fingertips. I need what's happening as they're happening. I need advice at point of spend. And that is sort of how I can focus as a small business owner, focus on running my business, focus on actually doing what my core capability and competency is. And that's why it's not a sudden shift. It's been there for a while. But I think it's becoming so relevant now that the pace of technology change or the access to technology within consumer and SME is just so different now. So that is why the moment is right now.
Yeah. Simon, does that ring true with what you're saying from the Mastercard side of things?
Yeah, very much so. I think small and medium businesses have been underserved. And we tend to follow in B2B payments, the consumer journey, if you like. We're probably, generally, the industry is probably 3 to 5 years behind. But the pandemic speeded up the increased need for visibility of where I need to be as a small business in terms of what do I need to buy to keep going? How can I buy that stuff and how can I get paid for stuff? And the proliferation of, there's many terms, but embedded finance. Embedded finance is a much misused term, but basically, where can I go as a consumer to shop and pay for stuff? The small business expects the same, but in the terms of how can I get paid quickly for stuff and where can I buy my things across that journey? But it plays to the need for immediacy, confirmation of payments arriving, and banks and the SME ecosystems are waking up to that fact. So you see a proliferation of payments, services, cybersecurity being offered to small and medium businesses that right the way through that small business ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Kunal, obviously you live and breathe SMBs on the daily basis. So, I mean, I'm sure there are still lots of misunderstandings, right, about what day-to-day life looks like for these businesses. Is there one myth about SMB finance that you wish you could just get rid of or correct for people?
I think everybody assumes that if you have banking sorted for SMBs, it's done, the job is done. And I think just building on what just Simon said, it's more relevant that if you can fit things into the business workflows. So I'll take an example. I'm a business with about 50 employees and I'm getting an invoice through which I need to make a payment. Yes, I can have the best payment solution. I can have the slickest banking app and I can click a button and the payment goes through. But before that, I need to have somebody to review the document, somebody to review the contract, somebody to make a decision whether that needs to be approved by myself or the CEO. That needs to be approved and then the payment goes through. So even in a banking and a financial services context, if you have the best payment systems, the best payment rails, it's about how can you create an ecosystem where their workflows are embedded or it's all in one. So you get a payment, you read the invoice, you say, it needs to be categorized under this accounting code. Simon or Kunal needs to approve it. Once it's done, the payment goes through. And that's where people oversimplify and think, we have done the payments bit. We have got an amazing app. Now, why are they complaining? It doesn't solve a problem. The real need is that they can run their business quite quickly. And that is where that's a myth in the industry, that it's not just about payments and financial services. It's bringing payments and financial services into the business workflows, which is where it gets really important.
Yeah. Simon, obviously you talked about immediacy. I think people are able to do things instantly. When it comes to banking, today's climate, especially the pressures we've seen around inflation, talent shortages, volatile cash flow, is speed that the most important thing, or are there other things which you think are also important for SMBs to kind of stay on top of their day-to-day business?
I think speed it is an aspect, but crucially to speed needs to be, I'll call it the visibility of the decision making. So it's fine to say that things will happen fast, but myself as a small business owner, I want to know that it's been done. Now, whether that's me applying for an overdraft, a short-term credit facility, or even a credit card, I can go onto a system and I get an acknowledgement really quickly that it's been done. But actually the crucial decision where I need to see speed is, have I got that credit facility? Can I fund next month's cash flow? And likewise, in terms of the payments or receiving payments, again, people presume that things go quickly, but actually having that confirmation of payment, having that immediate notification on a system, on an app, on a banking product that my supplier has been paid to the agreed terms or even early, it's fairly essential. So it's more around the tools that give me visibility into the confirmation that something has happened at speed or been expedited. That's the crucial bit as a small business owner.
Yeah, no, for sure. And do you think in the past, these types of, that type of visibility, these types of journeys haven't been offered because just the underlying technology wasn't there to support them? Or do you think there just wasn't an understanding from providers in this space about how crucial that kind of flow is, or kind of why that's essential to SMBs?
I think there's always been the understanding that the advancements of technology means different parts of a journey can integrate easily with each other. That's the crucial bit. And, if you can flow from your banking app to your spend management app to your card provider's app in a seamless journey, you get visibility of the data that flows between those systems. And we all talk about the data and the flows of these systems. But for a small business, it's I know I've been paid. I know I can now take that money and pay for something, can transfer it to a different account. And I know I can send that money cross-border, however, make a card submission. It doesn't matter what it is, but I know I can use that money to make a payment. So I think it's the improvements in the various aspects of the tools that small businesses need in terms of how they integrate and talk to each other. And that interoperability is absolutely crucial. We held a small and medium business event a few weeks ago to showcase some of the troubles that we're having. And an incredibly large small business is still doing their cash flow on a spreadsheet. The lady still sits there, and they're nearly £1 million turnover business. And she's still doing it on a spreadsheet because that's the tool she prefers and that's the tools that she likes. So it's the interoperability of the various systems that's got a lot better.
Just to build on that, Kate, systems have been existing, right? So you've got the best accounting systems out there. You've got the best customer relationship management systems out there. But the reason people still keep going back to Excel is they're not connected. So if I'm a small business owner, I have to deal with 4+ bank accounts, 10+ software systems, and that entire ecosystem is really complex. And ultimately, in order to bring it all together, I still need to go back to an Excel. And what Simon said is the simplest need, right? I need to get paid on time. I need to know when I've paid somebody, and I need to know visibility of whether I'll be positive or negative by the end of the month. And if you can bring it all together in a single place, which is interoperability, having the data connectivity and having the insight, so you can make every spend decision a smart decision, that's where you add value. So I think it's a bit about, the understanding has always been there. Technology has evolved on solving individual silos is probably a strong word, but individual parts of the problem. And now it's the chance on how can you actually bring it all together and stitch it. So, the line I like to use is an SME saying, treat me like you know me. And that's the important part. That's what you need to solve for.
Yeah, and I can completely see that, kind of the connectivity being key. I think what you described, which I completely agree with, is kind of the key components of running the business day to day. I suppose the other part, when I've interviewed small business owners or kind of the financial controllers within small businesses, I think they kind of seem to split their world into kind of two big buckets of jobs, right? Like the jobs to kind of keep the business running, and then the jobs to think about kind of what's next for the business, kind of like, when is going to be the right time for the business to do something different, to grow, to shift, to kind of move something onwards. So that's, I suppose, where maybe the kind of advisory component starts to become particularly key as well. So I've seen typically, small businesses almost struggle because they can't afford to make that strategic hire for the person that will help think about those big strategic growth questions. Do you think kind of the emergence of AI automation, Kunal, could start to fill that gap, could replace some of these kind of human advisory chunks that SMBs need to grow?
I think more than replace, I think it will enable them. So if you think about a small business and a medium business, a small business is, the owner is wearing multiple hats, right? So if you can eliminate all the manual work that we have talked about, it actually gives them the mind space to think about how can they grow their business, which is equivalent to the strategic conversation you're talking about. If you look at a medium business, which has a finance team or a financial controller, typically finance teams, their job is keeping the lights on, which is maintaining the books and ensuring the books and records are correct, and also helping the business grow and make those strategic decisions. If you can make the first part seamless, automated, and give insights on a real-time basis on what's happening. So something as simple as, hey, Kate, the finance controller, do you know you've spent 15% more on your marketing spend over the last month as compared to the previous 12 months? And by the way, if I look at your peer group, you're 10% above them on spending. And that enables you as a finance person and empowers you to actually drive the strategic conversations. So finance is not controlling the purse strings, stopping the business from growing. It's actually enabling the business to thrive and be successful because they don't have to spend time on manual work. They've got the insights at this point of spend, and they can actually help drive the business forward. So I don't think AI will replace them. I think AI will actually enable finance teams and small business owners to actually focus their mind space on the things that matter.
Yeah. Simon, what do you think? I suppose we've held off mentioning AI up to this point, right? So what's your perspective on where AI plays into this?
I know you Kunal and I were speaking, and you can't really go to any event or, to be honest, anything anywhere without mentioning the wonderful 2-letter acronym. So I think it can only help, but I think it has to be delivered by trusted bodies and partners, and that's the crucial bit. We're developing. I'm literally testing one at the minute. Something we're calling the CFO agent. So the CFO agent will look at your accounts, pick out the invoices that need paying, understand what it needs to do to help you manage your cash flow. So that's incredibly powerful, but that has to come from a trusted source because as a small business owner, you need to feel, one, empowered, but also trust ultimately what you're dealing with. And on the small business panel I spoke about, we had 4 customers there, 4 small businesses, very, very diverse. 2 would use it, 2 wouldn't, in any way, shape, or form. So I think AI will and can help, but as a small business, you need to have absolute trust in what is the AI tool you're using, where it's coming from. Is it from your bank? Is it from Mastercard? Is it from Pleo? Because that trust has to be inbuilt to that brand, that thing you're talking with, that's helping you, one, sustain your lifestyle, but more importantly, keep your small business running. And any entrepreneur, I'm a failed small business owner, but any entrepreneur I know that's successful kind of puts the life of that small business nearly, if they're fortunate enough to have kids, nearly above the importance of their children. And when you're going to give AI access to your funds, finance, payments, cards, tax returns, those type of things, you need absolute trust. So it will undoubtedly help, but it has to come from an extremely, extremely trusted source.
Okay. I think that's a perfect place for us to take a very quick pause, but don't go anywhere as we'll be diving even deeper into this topic and what we think is going to happen next after the break.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
The who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
Now we've explored a bit more about why SMBs need intelligent advisory. The next question is, how do we deliver it seamlessly, right where they are already working? This shift toward proactive guidance requires embedding intelligence into everyday workflows, as Kunal has explained very eruditely. Embedded finance does not just point SMBs in the right direction, but just like a GPS, it actively reroutes them in real time. It can flag upcoming cash flow traffic jams, suggest smarter spending detours, and highlight new routes to growth, all without them ever leaving the tools that they already use every day. So let's dive back in. One of the aspects we haven't necessarily talked about a huge amount is where banks sit in this picture, right? Obviously, some you represent Mastercard, Kunal, you represent Pleo. Banks maybe in the past have had quite a transactional relationship. I think we've talked about this, maybe how in the past some of these businesses have been underserved. Kunal, what do you think the role is for the bank in the future for these types of businesses?
I think having worked at a big bank before, I think banks play a really critical role. And if I take a step back, banks do two things really well. One is they're in the business of managing risk. And the second is they're in the business of providing capital. Where we actually see banks coming into this is a really strong partnership, where we actually enable banks to help SMBs with advice on their business, because banks have the knowledge, the skill set, and the experience. There are some banks out there which have been doing it for the last 200 years, and they could definitely do it. And second is enable them to have insights in a partnership model where they know what SMBs are spending on, when they are spending on things, and what do they actually need. In the old model, if I'm an SMB, I would have a relationship manager at a bank who would come to me and say, hey, Kunal, how's it going? How's the business going? Let's talk about it. Imagine if the same person could come and say, hey, Kunal, I see that you've grown 20% over the last year. However, your marketing spend has gone up by 30%. Let's talk whether you need more capital, or should we help you think through whether you're growing your business at the right place. So I think banks have a really crucial part to play in this ecosystem. It's more like, how can we augment the capability with all the tools, the workflows, the capabilities, and the technologies out there to create that ecosystem, which I like to call the win-win-win ecosystem, to make SMBs thrive ultimately.
Yeah. So I'm keen to get your perspective. Obviously, I think maybe in the past this was a simpler ecosystem, right? There weren't quite as many players that SMBs had parts of their financial life with. Obviously, we've talked about accountancy platforms, you've got banks, obviously you've got card providers, you've got accounting systems. This is a much more complex ecosystem now, right? How have you seen different banks react to that?
Obviously, all banks are fantastic in Mastercard's world, especially if they have our brand on their cards. But where banks are realizing is that we talked about small and medium enterprise businesses ecosystems. Those ecosystems are now offering banking applications. which isn't as difficult as it once was. You can go onto an online app. It can give you a multi-currency bank account and a card as a small business, within a matter of minutes. So I think the high street banks now are waking up, have woken up, right? They've woken up over the past, I'll say 10 years, to the need to partner with the right players at the right time to satisfy their small business needs. So whether it's a digital VAT submission tool, or whether it's an accounting package tool, a spend management tool, but they can't do it all for everyone. So they have to partner with the right ones at the right time, because otherwise SMBs just leave. They just go elsewhere because other people have better user experiences that makes their life quicker. They see their decisions and payments made quicker, and they get better tools to help them run their small business. Anything from a simple budgeting tool to e-invoicing to a customer relationship management. But what the banks are getting very good at is bringing on the right partners at the right time to satisfy their customers, whether they're focusing in on certain segments, whether it's, a lot of focus on construction at the minute, a lot of focus on the space industry, would you believe, a lot of focus on the motor industry, but bringing in the right providers for their customer base at the right time is where it's changing at real pace.
Yeah, no, I think that's really key. And Kunal, I'm keen to go back to something that Simon was talking about in the first half of the show. Some of the customers that he's spoken to recently, they've kind of been that 50-50 split between people that maybe were doing things quite manually still, and people that maybe were more open to moving. So there obviously is now a bit of a turning point, right? There might be some businesses that are leaping straight into this new world where all of these smart tools that exist, they're happy to start to integrate. But there's going to be a large body of businesses that are more reluctant, that have concerns. Like, what do you think the industry needs to do to help those more reluctant businesses to make that transition?
I think it's really simple, Kate. It's to deliver value to those businesses. Because I think if you think about a small business, they are working really hard, toiling in and day out to make the business work. Right? If you can deliver value to them and show value, the uptake would be higher. So some of the things that, we see an NPS of 50, we see 70% monthly active user rates and a 60% increase in spend in the first 12 months. And that is because small businesses actually see value. You've got customers or small business finance teams and owners coming in. Oh my God, now I can actually think about what to do with the business next. Did you know that I've been called a champion by my executive team? That's a finance person coming in and telling us, right? Or, I suddenly have time not to look at paperwork. I can actually plan a dinner with my wife on the first week of the month. And I think if you get these moments that matter, that they are actually seeing value, and that's what we need to do. I think as an industry, sometimes we focus on technology for technology's sake, that, we do X, we do Y, and, they will just uptake it because the technology makes sense on a slide. I think it's more about if we can deliver value that can reflect on a day-to-day basis and make people, it sounds a bit cheesy, but make people happy in their day-to-day lives, that's important. And that's what drives uptake. So we need to be really, really customer-centric. And I think that's where, if I look at how the consumer side of banking and financial services evolved in the last decade, that's what we need to really bring to the table for small businesses.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think those moments, as you say, can quite often get overlooked, but are such critical moments, as you say, of like clearly seeing a benefit or a benefit to changing. I think certainly what I've observed in some of my conversations is, I'm not saying this is universal, but I think sometimes you have the case where almost because a business has relied on manual workflows for such a long time, there is almost like a financial controller that sometimes is like the automation layer, and like all of the knowledge and understanding is like embedded in this person's brain, and they, without them the whole system would break. And I definitely, again, I'm not saying it's universal, but I've definitely seen some example, I had some conversations where you almost get the sense that individual is worried that if they add in new systems that they will become redundant, either like literally or metaphorically. So I'm intrigued. I completely agree that you have to create those moments of value, but like there's almost sometimes the person that has the knowledge to adopt some of these new systems is sometimes the person that's most worried about being replaced, right?
I think it's about control. Because, and building to Simon's point, Simon said earlier, it's about having control, visibility, and the confidence that things could work, right? So, there used to be a saying, nobody got fired for hiring IBM. It's the same, right? Like, nobody gets fired for using an Excel spreadsheet because it sort of works. And I think it's more about having the sense of transparency, control, that you can actually enable and give the confidence. So, yes, you're right, Kate. There is reluctance. There is, always inertia on adoption of new things. But I don't think what we're talking about here is a paradigm shift. We are not saying, tomorrow, as soon as you use X, your life's going to change. We are saying it's already happening. You're worried about lack of control, visibility, and transparency, where, as a diligent financial controller, it might appear as you're taking a risk. Let's sort that out. And I think if it were like, we were introducing humanoid robotics tomorrow and that's the discussion we're having, probably I would have agreed with you. But we are talking about something which exists. It's about control, transparency, and the feeling of confidence. That's what we need to bring to the table.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Simon, obviously we've understandably spent a fair bit of this time talking about cash flow. We know that's critical. But are there other kind of areas, other jobs to be done where we think navigation tools could help customers, help SMBs?
Yeah, I think there's lots of tools. I think it crucially, how we think about it when we're trying to build stuff, partner with people, is jobs to be done by the SME. So what jobs need to be done? Rather grandly, customer relationship management. For the big enterprise, there's enormous, amazing tools out there. But for the small business, that's generally something like, can you help me capture my customer's emails address, store them in a secure way, and allow me to contact those people in a secure way? So there's simple tools like that we can give with part of our card packages, working with the banks, the issuers, the SME ecosystem, that just allow a small business to go, tick, that's one of my jobs done for today. And generally, that's how we think about it. Obviously, there's the customer side, there's the getting payments inside, there's the getting payments out. That's generally how simply we think about it. What do I need to do to get paid in the most efficient way? What do I need to make payments in the most efficient, simple way? So we do everything from, wrapping, acquiring and issuing bundles, so allowing small businesses to take cards, but also get a card. But then right the way through to, partnering with the likes of Pleo that give that wrapper of confidence. And we see spend uplift of about 2.5 times with the likes of Pleo, which is fantastic, obviously. But that happens because that small business feels in control of the jobs that need to be done, the payments that need to be made, hopefully via card, but if not via card, we have many other solutions, but hopefully via card. But it crucially, that wouldn't happen if they didn't have control, knowing that where I put that card, it will be billed at the right time to the right supplier in a very, very secure manner. If I pull a virtual card and I set it for settlement on the middle of December, the end of December, I know I'm getting 75 or 90 days cash flow. That's an incredible amount of control and benefit. But again, it comes down to that. I understand the jobs to be done, the pain points to be removed, the needs that need to be satisfied, and then we give them the right bits of kit. But ultimately, it's giving them, it empowers them to make those decisions because they feel like they can, because they're in control.
For sure. Yeah. Sadly, we've got to the end of the show. So I suppose one final question, I suppose, to round us out. If we think a little bit ahead, say, let's pick a random year, say 2028, if we picture what the SMB ecosystem looks like a few years from now, maybe more businesses have these real-time embedded insights helping them to make decisions. Kunal, how do you think this will reshape, competition, growth, partnerships in this space? What will this look like?
At the macro level, I'll go back to the mission that we are solving for is making European businesses thrive. And I think if we can deliver what we are talking about here, we can actually make European businesses hyper-competitive and innovating at pace. I think that's ultimately the goal. In order to get there are things like, we bring the capability via banks, via payment service providers, via accounting providers. But ultimately, the success metric that we are looking for is making European businesses competitive and innovate at pace.
Can't argue with that. Simon, final word to you. 2028, we chat again. What do you want to see have happened in this space?
Obviously, the partnership thrives, goes on. But I think really it comes down to the speed of decision making for small businesses. Whether you're applying for a bank account, whether you're applying for you're partnering, with a Mastercard provider, whether you're asking for short-term credit, whether you're expanding to a new country, what we want to see is the people who are making those decisions, the systems that are making those decisions are quicker and providing visibility into the decisions for the small business. That's what stops small business growing, and that's what we have to push forward and drive. The visibility into the decision-making of the systems, whether it's a bank providing it, Mastercard providing it, Pleo providing it, but making that decision-making quicker for that small business so they sustain their livelihood.
For sure. Okay, well, sadly, that wraps up today's discussion. I could happily talk about this all day. Thank you so much to both of you for joining me. Where can people find out more about you and what you're working on, Kunal?
So you can find out about what we are working on Pleo's website and on LinkedIn. We are working very closely with Mastercard, and there's a lot of activities happening in 2026. So looking forward to great success next year.
Watch this space. And Simon, what about you?
Yeah, Mastercard.com and our LinkedIn space, my LinkedIn space. Kunal and I are regularly posting all our new announcements. So yeah, and obviously the FI podcast.
I mean, I'm just going to put it on the recording so that he's committed to it. But Kunal said before we started recording that he was going to send you a hoodie. So I'm just saying that now so that he's committed to it.
There you go.
But yeah. And you can find me, Kate Moody, also on LinkedIn, or you can drop me an email, kate@elevenfirst.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you've heard, follow our podcast and don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us to make it better and helps others to find this show. As always, if you want to join the conversation, find us on social media. Just search for 11FS or Fintech Insider or email podcast@11fs.com. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.